Yo, what is up everyone? Tachi here. So today we are going to be talking about the new event, which is the Records of Vengeance armor event. Now, if you guys are unaware, the Records of Vengeance armor event is going to give you a brand new armor set, which starts at A and upgrades to SR. And if I'm not mistaken, it is available for sword, axe, instrument, and staves. And the primary reason to get this armor set, at least the main reason to get it for your main weapon, would be because it is going to help you a lot against dragon type enemies, and most likely the next event is going to be Fafnir. Fafnir obviously being a dragon type enemy, so it will help you in that. Obviously, if you guys are familiar, you remember that Yorm was pretty hard and then this Emil was pretty hard. Obviously not that hard if you are in a full party that is actually manually playing instead of on auto, but if you want to auto, it's obviously quite difficult, and any advantage will obviously help you. Now, I won't talk too much about Fafnir here because obviously I will probably be planning to drop a Fafnir video when Fafnir drops, but for now I will tell you that effect is actually pretty okay, but there are better alternatives that are technically available right now for most people. So at the very least, you will be using both this armor set and Fafnir for stat stick, just because they are, again, Fafnir respectively can be upgraded to L, and then this armor set can be upgraded to SR. So regardless, even if you don't use them then and there as your main effect, you will be able to get extra stat stick in the subgrid, or even in your grid normally if you happen to be a free-to-play player and you don't actually have access to that many SRs. Now, onto the actual nightmare itself, which is obviously available here. Now, obviously you guys see here Defiant Roar. You might think increase the effectiveness of all Vanguard ally skills. Well, that actually sounds pretty decent, but here's the thing. This is actually the same effect, but a lower variant from PvE mode available nightmares, which is Justice and Orc, if I'm not mistaken. Both of them have Defiant Roar 2. And even if you don't want to go for any of these, eventually I believe it comes out with Snow White Paladin, which should be in the next maybe month and a half or 2 months. You are going to be able to get access to Barbarian on the banner, which is also the same thing. It also has Defiant Roar, and as you guys can see here, it does increase the effectiveness of all ally attack type skills. Now, this is obviously a comeback mechanic. If you happen to be losing in Coliseum, this will help you a lot in terms of damage, a lot more than something like Freeze Golem or Ugalu will ever do for you, right? Especially if you are behind, correct? But you will obviously lose it once your life actually goes above. If you use this too early, you're just gonna catch up, you're gonna get the lead like almost immediately because nothing has really happened. So this is definitely something you'd want to be using around or after the first Shinma, right? The first demon. And that's because typically around then is when the gap is starting to get bigger for one side or the other. So this is something you'd be using most likely if you lose the first Shinma and you see that the gap is starting to widen. This will help you shorten that gap up so that you guys don't start losing too much. And obviously, as you guys are aware, if you lose the first Shinma, not always, but typically you are going to die soon after. And it mostly just comes down to the fact that they do so much more damage than you do because of the Shinma effect. So something that will give you a big boost in damage as well will help you catch up in that. And it will make it so that their buffs, debuffs, and healers will be just as fucked as yours are. That being said, overall, this event is pretty easy. I have had no problems with this event at all. The drop rates are pretty okay. As you guys see here, 5%. 5% is pretty typical for these events, so it's really not a huge deal. And like I said before, 5% is for these armors. So as you guys see, it's just the head blade, the axe body, instrument, legs, and then the gloves for stabs. And then the rest of them will have a 1% drop. Now, this is probably going to be the shittiest part for you guys, is just the fact that for you guys to finish a full set of any individual weapon, you are going to be fighting against RNG. But other than that, this event is pretty easy, so there's no real need for like a guide per se. I mean, your best bet in pretty much any PvE is just going to be make sure that you have 3 competent DPS players, probably at your CP or above them. You don't really want to bring someone that has lower power than you, because in this game, you actually do scale your power to other people. So when you have like say for me, I have a DPS that has 150,000 power. I only have 115k, so they will be lowered down to around what I have. But if it were to be lower than me, if they had only 100k, they don't get powered up. So I'm still losing that power. Just make sure that you bring 3 DPS and then a healer or a support. You can also do 2 DPS, 2 supports. It's fine, either or, as long as you have at least 1 support on your team. Usually I prefer a healer because it does give you some leeway in terms of like tankiness, especially against a lot of these enemies. They do one-shot you a lot, so it will help you quite a bit if you do happen to have a healer on your team. If you want to add in as well either a sorcerer or a minstrel to help you, do more damage, that's fine as well. But obviously you can replace that by just using your nightmare. In most cases that will likely be Emil, or perhaps depending on the boss, if you know what element the boss is, you could just use something that will increase your damage to that specific boss. In the case of Emil, you're pretty much using Freeze Golem and or Yorm, so pretty much just take those tips in mind. Anyhow guys, that is the end of this video. Hopefully it helped. If it did, hit the like button, subscribe if you guys want to see more guides. Anyways, I am out. Have a nice day.